The NFL offseason is here. And you want to know, is my quarterback the guy? Is he a franchise quarterback? Where does my quarterback stand among all the starters, the free agents, and some backups in the NFL? That's why I love ranking, specifically tier ranking quarterbacks at this time of the year. Because I can go through the process of understanding who the top 32 quarterbacks are, who should be grouped together, and then as fans, we can discuss which teams need to look at quarterbacks in the draft or in free agency, which teams need to upgrade, which teams need to sign their guy to a long-term contract, which guys are going to be awesome in the future, which guys are maybe declining. There's so much to take away right before free agency begins, and that's why I do it now. So Gronk, spike the like button. Get in the live comment section. Let me know how you feel about your quarterback, and let me know where you evaluate each quarterback according to our tier rankings. Let's waste no more time. Get those Gronk spikes up. If we get 100 likes on this video, 100 likes, I will release my 2024 version of my quarterback rankings, including the contract that is attached to the player. So quarterback rankings with contract included if we get 100 likes. All right, let's go. Quarterback tiers. Hold on, I got to make sure I got my comments up just in case we got some good comments from you people out there. So let's say hello to the people. Caesar's at the gym, getting those gains in. What up, Pixel? What up, Mike? What up, Big Al? Sing, Marky Mark. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Keep those comments coming. All right, so we've got all these different categories to place each quarterback into. We have the elite category. These are the best quarterbacks in the NFL, capable of changing games and carrying teams. We have the franchise quarterback that teams should be willing to pay a long-term contract. These guys are really, really good players. They're not quite like going to carry a team no matter what players, but they're worth signing up long-term with. Good players are like above serviceable, but there's something missing to their game. The manager, aka the Cam Newton tier, where this is where Cam Newton places pretty much every quarterback in the NFL. Bridge starter means he can start every once in a while. You don't necessarily want him as your starter, but you can maybe win some games with him. Good backup is I like this guy to go in if my starter is injured. Backup means the guy is simply a backup and he's nothing more, nothing less. And then bum is like, this guy stinks. Like, he should not be anywhere near the football field. He's only on a team for like good vibes. So those are the tiers. And if you don't even have good vibes and you're a bum, why are you even on a team? Okay. So, by the way, shout out to whoever made this tier list because there's like 1,000 quarterbacks on here. I'm not going to rank every single one, but I'm going to rank the guys that I deem to be worth ranking. Also, I really like the color coordination of whoever did this. Very fancy stuff. So, let's start off with QB number 1. And by the way, shout out, I got a new Bills little thing here. I got a Bills scarf to go in the background. I'm still not sure where to put it right now. I got it next to the plant. But anyways, we're going to start off with Josh Allen because he's the first one on the list. I believe this is in alphabetical order. So, Josh Allen is first. I think you guys know where I'm going to put Josh Allen. He deserves to be in the elite tier. Josh Allen is arguably the most talented quarterback in football when it comes to physical ability, arm strength, ability to run, just overall ability to carry a team. There are not many that can really get to Josh Allen's level. He regularly leads the team in rushing and passing. He has had the most touchdowns in the NFL, I believe, over the past 3 to 4 years. He had the most yards and touchdowns in the NFL in 2023. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'd like him to get a little bit more help from his coach, a little bit more help from his playmakers. But yes, Josh Allen is absolutely elite. It's unfortunate that he hasn't won an MVP yet. It's unfortunate that he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. But I think he'll eventually get one or both of those awards one day. But Josh Allen is phenomenal, and I think he is a Hall of Fame talent. Moving to the next quarterback. Who is next on our list here? And if I miss one, just because there's so many that you want me to cover, let me know. I'm going to go with Jacoby Brissett as the next quarterback here. I think Jacoby Brissett is a good backup. He's somebody that is a free agent right now. I think that's why he's worth covering for this video. He could be signed to a 1-year contract. I actually, watching him play in Washington, there was moments where he came in for Howell, and he was actually more effective for the offense moving the ball than Sam Howell near the end of the season. So I think Jacoby Brissett was actually really good for Cleveland a couple years ago. I'd argue that Jacoby Brissett played better a couple years ago in the Cleveland offense than Deshaun Watson did last year. So he's got a pretty good arm to him. He's not the most mobile guy in the world, but he can take off with grass ahead of him. He's got pretty good power in terms of making those intermediate crossing route throws, deep throws. He's a little bit deliberate with his release, takes a long time sometimes to get the ball to where it needs to go. But overall, especially when it's operating off of play action and a power running game, I think Jacoby Brissett's an effective backup that can step in at any time and be a pretty good player. He's arguably even a bridge starter, but I'm going to put him in the good backup category for now. He didn't really get quite the opportunity I thought he should have last year in Washington. Joe Burrow is next up. Joe Burrow is interesting because obviously he was injured last year, so a lot of people are controversially ranking him right now. I feel like most people are maybe a little bit too low on Joe Burrow as of right now, just because we didn't really get to see him play all that much. So I would probably still put him in the elite category, although I think he's a step below Allen. There's a few reasons. So first of all, I think just what we saw from Jake Browning was kind of opened my eyes in terms of the structure of the offense, the playmakers, how kind of easy it is on a quarterback to play within that offense with that type of skill talent. We've also seen Joe Burrow just deal with a lot of injuries and be beat up at times. And he just feels like a guy that when he is dealing with an injury, he's just not nearly the same player, which is the reason I would rank him below somebody like Josh Allen, because we saw him at the beginning of the year dealing with some sort of injury. He was just a terrible quarterback at the beginning of the year. Then he sort of hit his stride during the middle of the year, got healthier, looked really, really good, had an awesome game against San Francisco, had a great game against Houston. At his best, Joe Burrow can go toe-to-toe with any quarterback in the league. He's as creative, as calm, as clutch as any quarterback in the league. He's as intelligent pre-snap as any quarterback in the league. He's as accurate as any quarterback in the league. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the fastest or twitchiest athlete, but he's extremely savvy in the pocket. He's been able to overcome deficiencies in pass blocking in years past, but just his inability to consistently stay healthy, his inability to, maybe just have that consistent 2 to 3 year in a row success that I'd like to see from him. But when he's on the field and he's functional and he's healthy, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, especially when it comes to intelligence. I think this is Jake Browning. Honestly, I can't really tell based on the picture, so I'm going to rank him anyways. It also makes sense because his name's a B. So I'm going to rank him just because he played quite a bit last year. I would put him in the good backup category. I thought that he played pretty well. Maybe I'm overrating him a little bit, but I actually thought he played pretty well. I believe he's also a free agent this offseason. So somebody might look at him to sign him to a little bit more money than Cincinnati's maybe willing to offer. But that being said, if I was Cincinnati, given the history of Joe Burrow, I'd be willing to give him a decent contract just to back up Joe and make sure that we have a solid option behind Joe Burrow in case he does go down for any length lengthy period of time. But I thought he was productive. I thought he was smart with the ball. I thought he put the ball in the right places. I thought he was pretty decisive in terms of, reading coverages and didn't make a ton of mental errors. I'd also say that he had some good games where he was really in rhythm and was accurate, had a decent enough arm, not super talented physically, which probably holds him back from being a starter. But I thought the way he played last year deserves to go in the good backup category. A guy that I would be willing to trust for maybe like a 4 to 5 week stretch, but I wouldn't really want him for any longer than that. So he's probably below Jacoby Brissett, but he's still decent. Next guy is Derek Carr. Derek Carr, I'd put in the manager category. I think that it's interesting because Carr has ability to be a good quarterback, but he also has deficiencies that make him more of somebody that's just inconsistent. So he's not the guy that you would necessarily label as a game manager, but I don't think Cam Newton would necessarily call him a game manager in the spirit of what he says. But I would also say that Derek Carr, he's just extremely inconsistent. Mid is a better word. Wrath of Raider says mid is a better word for sure for Derek Carr. It's just he can be brilliant between the 20s. He can put the ball where it needs to go. He's got enough zip on the football. He's got enough accuracy to get it there. He's pretty good at deciphering coverages and knowing where to go with the ball, but he's extremely erratic. When he's protected, he can make a lot of throws, and he can make a lot of throws, as well as Joe Burrow. If he's protected and he's on and he's in a rhythm and he's feeling himself, we've seen games before where Derek Carr is just putting the ball wherever it needs to go, scrambling a little bit, making throws outside the pocket, all that stuff, right? And he can be explosive. He can be consistent. So there's a lot of things to like about Carr, but there's also when he's pressured, he's not the same player. He constantly makes just crazy mistakes or throws the ball at the dirt or throws the ball short all the time and dinks and dunks his way down the field, and oftentimes is unwilling to make those big time throws when he's getting players in his face. He isn't the most mobile to be able to escape and make actual plays on the move. He was better at that early in his career. I think a lot of times he's a little soft. I think that's the word to describe him. Sometimes he's not willing to step in and make a huge big time throw on a third down that you might need him to make. He's more willing to just check it down to his back and live to see another day, which I don't really like in my quarterbacks personally. Talented guy that just frustrates me a lot, especially when it comes to his red zone play. He's just not very good and very erratic. So Derek Carr is in the manager category. Next up is Kirk Cousins. I'd put Kirk Cousins in the good category, although I thought last time at times he played like a franchise quarterback, but I'm going to put him in the good category overall. He's coming off of an Achilles injury, which is big, so you don't love to see that. I would say that his mobility has never been one of his strengths, so at least you can lean into that if you're a Viking fan or whoever ends up signing him, the Atlanta Falcons, whoever it ends up being. You can say, well, it's an Achilles. He wasn't like Michael Vick or anything like that, so I don't really have to worry about that necessarily. But he's one of the best processors in the game. He's extremely intelligent. He's a great studier of the game. He is just a student of the game when it comes to that sort of stuff. I think where he's really underappreciated and where people kind of miss what makes him a very good player is he's extremely accurate, really at all levels of the field, deep, underneath, intermediate. He just puts the ball in a perfect spot regularly. I think that makes him one of the most potent pocket passers in the game. If you don't get pressure on him, if you don't push the pocket up the middle, and he's able to sit back there with good receivers that they had in Minnesota, he's just going to pick you apart consistently. So Kirk Cousins, not the guy you think of in today's day and age where he's running around and he's extending plays and he's breaking sacks and he's making plays on the move. But man, go watch that Vikings-Niners game on Monday Night Football this year. Cousins was just dealing. So good quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Next up, we've got Andy Dalton. I guess I'll rank him real quickly. I would put him in the good backup category as well. I think Andy Dalton, honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you, he was better than Bryce Young last year. And if the Panthers were being 100% honest with themselves, they would have started Andy Dalton probably for the entire year. That's just my opinion. You go back and all you have to do is watch Bryce Young's entire season and then watch Andy Dalton play the Seahawks in like week 2 or 3. That's all you have to do. And Andy Dalton, I think, had the best quarterback performance of the Panthers all season long. Andy Dalton was also pretty good in New Orleans, which was one of the reasons why I wasn't like super pumped and animated about Derek Carr going to New Orleans, because I already saw Andy Dalton, play pretty well there the year before. Like, I'm not saying he was Tom Brady or Drew Brees in his prime or anything like that, but he was decent. Like, it felt like Dalton, he had his prime days in Cincinnati. He hit like a low where he was a backup on a couple teams with like Chicago, with like Dallas. He wasn't very good. And then he went to New Orleans and something happened where he started to play better. He went to Carolina, he played better. And then to me, he was the best quarterback in Carolina last year. So I put him in the good backup category. Sam Darnold is interesting. I feel like he would probably go in the good backup category as well. Like, he's got the talent, but he's just like, I think mentally a little slow. Like, I think the difference between Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold is, I think everyone would argue Sam Darnold has a better arm than Brock Purdy. I think you could argue that Sam Darnold physically can run faster than Brock Purdy. I think he's bigger, chunkier. What did Colin Cowherd used to call him? And then he's a first-round talent for a reason, right? He's got the release, the arm strength, the mobility to be a first-round pick and a franchise quarterback. That's why the Jets picked him. But I think mentally speaking, he's slow to process. He's slow to get the ball where it needs to go. He gets fooled by coverages quite often. He gets a little shy when he's not sure what he's seeing, and so he'll make a mistake or run away. But as a guy that's in a structure like San Francisco or this past year, you can definitely see the flashes of his physical ability. You also saw it a little bit in Carolina in the late stretch where he was pretty successful with Carolina last year, not this past year in 2023, but 2022, where they made a push for the playoffs. Darnold actually played decent, kind of being a game manager for that team and making a few plays with his legs and his arms. So Darnold, good backup just because of his physical skills. Tommy DeVito, now he's basically just a celebrity. He's probably never going to start another game in the NFL. He's just become a celebrity where he's like doing introductions on NBC for hockey games now. But I just call him an absolute bum. I'm just going to be honest. Like, Tommy DeVito, I love the guy. Like, put up your Italian sign. I don't know what you call this. What do you call this? What do you guys call this? I don't know. The Tommy DeVito. But to me, like, he's not very good. Like, there's nothing about Tommy DeVito that is very good. Like, the fact that the Green Bay Packers and Joe Barry made this guy look like 2011 Eli Manning speaks volumes. And then he was like running all over them. He was making play. Like, he had like 2 good games, and other than that, he was just really bad. Like, he's pretty inaccurate. He's not the most physically talented. He doesn't have a super strong arm. He can't really run that well. He's just like about the spirit and the vibes. Like, honestly, he's just a vibe quarterback. He's just a good guy. You want to play for him. You want to be in the locker room and have Tommy DeVito there. But I think near the end of the season where he became like the storyline and he became the flashy headline of the Giants, that's maybe where the Giants kind of lost themselves in terms of like, well, why is he getting all this attention? He's not even that good. So that's just a side note on him. But yeah, he's honestly a bum. Josh Dobbs is next. I think Dobbs is just a backup. Honestly, like, people are probably going to hate me for that because he played pretty well for the Cardinals, and then he had like 2 games where he was really good for the Vikings. But there's a reason that Nick Mullins and whoever the other Viking quarterback, I forget his name, the rookie, like, there's a reason that Kevin O'Connell didn't want to play this guy in the biggest game of their season. Like, he's just, overall, as a passer, you keep him in the pocket, you make him throw the ball. He's not very effective. He can move, he can run, he can scramble, especially to his right, as we know. He actually has a decent arm where he can make some throws down the field. He can hit that crosser on the move off of play action. Right? He's a pretty smart guy. Obviously, he's an astronaut, so he can digest a lot of information. But again, just go back to the logical thing. The Cardinals traded him. They didn't see him as a very valuable backup. And then the Vikings had him as their third quarterback by the end of the season. So as much as he was a great story, the Pastronaut, he's just not that good. He's more of a backup. If you need him to step in, he can do it. He might surprise some people for a couple weeks, but he's not going to be somebody you want to rely on long-term or for a large stretch of your season, as we saw with the Vikings, most importantly. After Josh Dobbs, we're going to go to Justin Fields, which I think is going to be an interesting ranking. Justin Fields is interesting because I think you could make an argument for pretty much like these two categories, bridge starter, manager. I think he has the potential to be a good quarterback, and I think he's flashed the ability to be a good quarterback. I would say, though, he probably belongs in the manager category because he's obviously flawed, and the reason I would call him a manager, and I actually think that label speaks to what he is I think you need to design an offense for like what he does specifically well, which is he's a very good athlete. He can run really well. You need to have a large portion of your playbook which is oriented towards him running, him being an athlete, him working off of play action boot game, him throwing, read bubbles and RPOs, him throwing off of play action vertically. Once you get him into a drop back passing situation, once you get him into a situation where he's having to work and operate from the pocket, working under pressure, he's got a slow, deliberate release. He's not very good at deciphering the blitz. The ball takes a long time in the air to travel. He does have a strong arm, but it's just such a slow release. And then, he's a really good athlete and he can make plays and he can run around, but he's not the most, aware when it comes to seeing pressure around him and being able to escape and then making a second throw off of it. Oftentimes, Fields is once he's decided to run, he's going to run. He's not like Allen or Mahomes in that category where you would think maybe he would have the upside to be able to escape a rush and throw the ball down the field. That's maybe what separates him from that next level of taking that next step. But he needs to improve as a drop back passer. He needs to improve at reading coverages, reading the blitz. He needs to improve his accuracy. But overall, I think just what he does well, being a big, fast human being that can uncork a football, is enough to be a guy that you can put in your offense, support him with a good defense, a good running game, some things that he does well, and he can be successful. So that's where I'd put Justin Fields in the manager category. Next up, we've got Joseph Flacco, the man, the myth, the legend, January Joe. I'd put him in the good backup category based on last year. I think he played well above that last season. So I think, based on last season, you would probably put him in the manager category. I thought he actually played really well, but just moving forward and basing it off his past couple of years and this past season, I think he's more of a guy that he's a veteran. He knows every offense pretty much. He's been there. He's done that. He's played in every environment on every team. He's been a leader. He's been a young player. He's been a Super Bowl champion. He's been a comeback player of the year. Joe Flacco has done it all. He's been in the playoffs multiple times. He's a guy you can count on. He's going to be calm. He's going to be collected. He's older. He's going to be able to lead your team with charisma. Players love him. So old man Joe's going to be able to step in and he's going to be able to get it done. He's probably not going to be any better than he was last year in terms of moving forward, but I still like some of the things that he offers. I definitely thought that last year he was the best quarterback on the Browns. I don't think there's any question about that. Next up, I guess we'll rank Jimmy Garoppolo. I honestly would put Garoppolo at this point into the He's rather like a good backup or just a backup. Honestly, like I would put Garoppolo into backup at this point. Like, okay, first of all, he got busted for roids. He played like absolute garbage. He's extremely limited. He can't move at this point. Like his knees are shot. He can't move. He can't throw the ball down the field. He's tough, but like how much longer is that really going to last? Because quarterbacks, that's like the first thing that fades, the ability to take a shot in the pocket. Yes, he has a quick release. Yes, he can throw the ball in between the numbers pretty accurately. But did we really see any drop-off when Garoppolo played or Aiden O'Connell played? Like, I don't know. So he's just so limited. Like, think about being an offensive coordinator and what you have to design your offense when you have Jimmy Garoppolo. You have to do so much just to make him an effective quarterback. So he's just not the same player. Like, people are going to say, oh, look at his record, all this stuff. He's not the same player he was like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. He dropped off the face of the planet last year, and he also got busted for roids doing it. So he's a backup. Next up, we've got, who do we want to rank? Jared Goff. Jared Goff, I'd put into the good category. I thought Jared Goff played really, really well last year. I grew a ton of admiration towards Jared Goff in what he was able to accomplish with Detroit. I don't think it's any small ability or task to take the Detroit Lions franchise to the NFC Championship. I don't care how good the roster is. I don't care how much you like Ben Johnson or this team or this roster. That's something Matthew Stafford never did, So just for Jared Goff to be able to do that speaks volumes to how good of a player he is. That being said, I think he has a good arm. I think he is a lot smarter now and a lot better decision maker now than he was in LA with the Rams when he went to the Super Bowl in 2018. He's a lot quicker to get rid of the ball against the blitz. He just knows where to go with the ball. I think maybe Ben Johnson has helped that in terms of the offense and the structure. He's one of the best intermediate passers in football. He's one of the best play action passers in football. He's pretty good from a drop back setting. He can't really move, which limits him. He's not really good when he's pressured because he can't really throw off of platform and on the move outside the pocket. But if you keep him in the pocket, kind of like Kirk Cousins, he's going to be deadly accurate. He knows where to go with the ball, and he's going to keep your offense in rhythm. He's put up really good stats throughout his career, and I think that speaks volumes to what he is. You put some players around him, you put some playmakers around him, a good offensive line in front of him, he's going to be really, really solid for you, and I think he is somebody you can win a Super Bowl with at this point in his career. I'm not sure he was in 2018 or 2017, but I think in this point, I think he is. I think the Lions need to get a little bit better on defense, but I think Jared Goff is good enough. All right, next up. Majestic says, don't put Allen. Please don't get to Allen and put him anywhere near the top. He is mediocre at best. Majestic is just trying to troll. I already have Josh Allen elite. I would argue Josh Allen was probably the best quarterback in the NFL this year. So that's where I stand on him. Next, we've got Mr. Heineken. Let's go with Heineken as a backup. I don't think he's anything better than that. I think you can make an argument he's a bum. Maybe we'll move him there, but I like him. He wasn't very good in Atlanta. He's all spirit. He's all spunk. He's never been talent, right? He's never been a guy. And it's amazing because he had like the game of his life in that playoff game against the Tampa Bay Bucks in 2020. And that's what everybody remembers him for. But I also think you should remember him for his ability to get about 7 wins out of the Washington Commanders the past couple of seasons. And then he goes to Atlanta and he's not great. He wasn't any better than Desmond Ridder. So, yeah, he's a backup. Nothing else really has to be said. He's feisty. He's a gamer. He'll try hard. Players like to play with him because of that, but he's nothing better than that. Justin Herbert, I believe, is next. Justin Herbert, I am going to put into the franchise category. I think in terms of skill set, he is an elite player, but I don't think you can just put players into elite categories based on skill set. That's not what I believe. I think you need to build a resume and you need to build proof of your ability. And Herbert has a cannon. Herbert has maybe the best technique and mechanics from a pocket passer perspective in the entire NFL. He's very accurate. There's times where you'll watch Justin Herbert throw a ball and it's like it's stuck to the receiver's chest on, a seam ball or a crossing route with tight coverage all over that guy. He's proven that he can still have highly functional offenses despite having below average talent around him on the offensive line, in the running game, at offensive coordinator, at receiver. He's still been able to be very productive throughout his career. He's, I think, pretty mobile. He's not like Allen or Mahomes in terms of savviness or duck, dodge, dip, and, dodgeball ability, but he's pretty good there, and he's really savvy in terms of his presence to be able to escape and make those plays. He doesn't have like the best arm angle ability in the world, but he's really good at sometimes he'll get that sidearm ability and throw that a little bit, but he's really smart as well. I think that's probably the most underrated area of his game. It's very hard to trick Justin Herbert. He often doesn't throw into heavy coverage. It's hard to make him make a mistake. You kind of have to beat other people around him. He is a prototypical quarterback. I like him a lot. He's big. He's strong. He's good. And I think what's missing is his ability to put up a resume that suggests he's a winner. I think last year he didn't play well in the clutch situations in the fourth quarter on game-winning drives. I thought he was a little underwhelming last year, but not always throughout his career. I think that he needs to be a better leader, and I think that kind of leads to being a winner. He's not very vocal. He's very kind of to himself, and I'd like him to be a little bit more inspirational and kind of like the head of his team, so to speak. And I think, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow are better at that than he is. Lamar even is better. But I think he needs a lot more help as well. So Herbert, I think, is somebody that could easily play at an elite level next year, but I just want to see more accomplishment to his career. All right, next. We've got, I'm not going to rank Taysom Hill, Sam Howell. Sam Howell, this is interesting. I honestly feel like you could argue bridge starter / good backup. I'd probably put him in the bridge starter category. I think you could see him play some games next year. I like a lot of things about Sam Howell. I thought he got put into a really tough situation last year, but put up some good numbers at times. He's really tough. I think that's the number one thing I like about him. He'll run into multiple defenders, take a hit, he'll scramble. He'll take a huge shot in the pocket to make a throw. And I feel like as an underdog team, that's something you want at your quarterback position. You want a quarterback that's going to be a gamer and go out there and make plays. I think he actually has a really good arm that's underrated. His accuracy is a bit hit and miss. His mechanics are a bit hit and miss at some moments. I think near the end of the year, though, he just got mentally and physically worn down. He was taking punishment week after week after week. Quite frankly, his father should sue the Commanders for the amount of punishment the man took. It was absolutely ridiculous how many sacks. Now, some of that is on him. He's got to be faster processing a defense and getting rid of the ball. Some of that's on Eric Bieniemy for calling 1,000 passes and not running the ball more. But there was moments, he played against New England. He was really good in that game. He was really good in some of these games. He had bad games as well. He'd throw 3 or 4 picks in a game. The Bills game, I remember, he threw 4 picks. But he was also kind of up and down, inconsistent, young, right? But he has enough physical traits where you look at him and say, he could be a starter in the league. You look at him in terms of toughness. He could be a starter in the league. He needs to grow. He needs to get some areas of his game better, especially mentally speaking. to be just quicker. But overall, I liked watching him play. He was a fun watch. Next, we've got, I don't know if you want me to rank Tyler Huntley. I'd put Tyler Huntley just quickly into the backup category. Honestly, like as of late, though, he's kind of played it as a bum, but I'd put him in the backup category. Jalen Hurts is next. Jalen Hurts is going to be controversial kind of no matter where I rank him, so it doesn't really matter. I'm trying to move this thing up, so hold on. So Jalen Hurts, I'd put into the good category. I think he's a good player. I think he's flawed, but I think he's good. I think last year I was a lot higher on him based on his success. I thought he had a phenomenal season. I never bought into the MVP hype, or I never really bought into Jalen Hurts as a quarterback that was carrying his team or the reason the Eagles were winning. But what I've always liked about Jalen Hurts, and this dates back to my scouting of him in college, he's an excellent athlete. He is a rare blend of power and speed as a quarterback. And I felt like last year he really didn't run enough. Like, he needs to do that more next year. Maybe that's because of injury. I'm not sure. Maybe that's because of play calling. I'm not sure. But he needs to be more willing to carry the team in terms of his running ability, because that's one of his special skills. He has special power. He can break tackles. He's hard to tackle. And he needs to be able to get out there and run. That's a big part of his game. Secondarily, I think he's a great leader of a team. He's a great face of a franchise. He's very, very just good speaker, just good leader. Players like him. He's always positive. He's always accountable. He's very easy to get behind. He's really tough to handle because of that running ability. And then he's got a really good deep ball. He's pretty good at like throwing the ball outside the numbers. Where I have really soured my opinion on Jalen Hurts is I think this year his tendencies in a negative fashion showed up. He's just like slow sometimes to process. He's often trying to like extend plays to make plays happen that are not there. He often was like finding himself being blitzed, not having an answer for the blitz, which teams just continued to go after him with, like blitz after blitz after blitz. And he didn't have the answer for it. The offense didn't have the answer for it. He wasn't getting rid of the ball. He'd scramble to his right. He wouldn't make like a play. He'd throw it away, or he'd run for a couple yards. Like, he needs to get, and this offense needs to get better at diagnosing the blitz. He needs to get quicker with his decision making. He needs to get more precise and willing to get rid of the ball for little gains instead of just looking for shot play after shot play after shot play, crosser after crosser, deep out after deep out, deep ball after deep ball. Like, he's just very flawed in terms of traditional drop back passing game and seeing pressures, simulated pressures, and all that stuff. I think he relies too much on physical ability. He relies too much on the talent around him. And that's just a big flaw in my opinion. But I think the positives outweigh the negatives. Chris Sims called him the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. For some people, that might be true. But I don't think that's necessarily true for everyone. So, I don't know. That's always a tough conversation. Next up, we've got Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson, I would put, and again, I have to scroll up, I would put Lamar Jackson into the elite category. He obviously won the MVP trophy this season. His season ended very disappointingly, obviously losing the AFC Championship. But I don't think Lamar was the main reason they lost the game. I think a terrible game plan was the main reason they lost the game. To only run the ball 6 times against the Kansas City Chiefs, and arguably the best passing defense in the NFL, is just like stupid. And then they were completely outmanned and outgunned in that game. Like, the coverage players on the Chiefs are way better than the receiving core of the Ravens. And that was just showing up play after play, time after time. And Lamar didn't really have a lot of places to go with the ball. But why Lamar is elite? Lamar really can do everything. I mean, he's an excellent just game changer in terms of what you have to account for when he's on the field. You have to account for his ability to run in all situations. You have to account for his ability to escape the pocket, extend plays, make throws on the move. Unlike a Jalen Hurts, he's become really quick with his ability to diagnose blitz and get the ball out. He's been much better in terms of his ability to, I think this is what separates like Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts with their kind of, you would think these guys would be able to like move, make plays outside the pocket and make throws. Lamar can do a spinorama, escape a sack, run to the right, throw the ball sidearm on the move 25 yards down the field perfectly. Like you watch Jalen Hurts, like he'll run away from pressure, and then he's very stiff with his throwing mechanics. So is Justin Fields, right? These guys that you would think would have Lamar capabilities, they don't have that arm flexibility and the ability to make those different angled throws and accuracy and touch throws that Lamar does. Lamar is a lot more accurate than he gets credit for. Lamar is a lot smarter than he gets credit for. Lamar has an awesome arm. He has an extremely quick release, which I think separates him from somebody like Jalen Hurts. He's extremely quick. He's the hardest guy to sack in the NFL from that standpoint. He does everything well. I think the only thing we need to see him do is win a Super Bowl. He's got 2 MVPs at this point. I think that he is still not as good as Mahomes or Burrow or Allen in terms of traditional drop back game, reading a defense, getting the ball where it needs to go and things like that. But I think he's starting to evolve to that level. But he's just so good in other aspects that it doesn't even really matter. It's more about, like, I think if they run the ball a few more times against the Chiefs, they probably win the Super Bowl. So I don't know. Like, people are just going to look at his playoff resume. But Lamar is absolutely elite. Lamar is absolutely a top quarterback. And Lamar deserved to win MVP, although I did have a slight difference in opinion. I thought that Allen was just as good as him last year. But that's just my opinion. Daniel Jones is next. Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk spiked the like button. 100 likes. We're going to do contract quarterback rankings. Daniel Jones is next up. Daniel Jones is... This one's tough, man, because it felt like we didn't see him play last year that much. I was really high on Daniel Jones after last year. Maybe I was just drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't know. I thought for the first time in his career, he played within a functional system with functional offensive line and functional receivers, and he played pretty well. I'd put Daniel Jones in rather the bridge starter or the manager category. I'm going to put him in the bridge starter category, though. Last year, even at the beginning of the year, soured me on Daniel Jones a lot. Like, he just hasn't grown enough as a player. Like, he's still slow to process pressure. He doesn't really know what to do when pressure gets to him. He's very, like, much a system product in terms of if the throw is there and it's open, he'll make the throw. But if it's not there and it's not open, he struggles. He's a good athlete. Like, he can run, he can move, all that stuff. But, like, he's also maybe not willing to do it enough, or just, I don't know. There's just something underwhelming about Daniel Jones. There's just something underwhelming. He's got a little bit of a slower release than I think people realize. I would like to see him supported by a better offensive line and a better receiving core than we have seen. But I think most of Daniel Jones' issues are just mental. Like, his ability to process a defense and his ability to just consistently dice up a defense is extremely inconsistent. I think he has enough ability within his arm and his legs, but he's just, something upstairs is not quite clicking for Daniel Jones. Next up. Who is next? Mac Jones. I am going to put Mac Jones into, and this is going to be interesting because I think it's situational in terms of Mac. I could see one of these two categories, bridge starter or good backup. I personally still believe in Mac in terms of being a starting quarterback in the league, but obviously not an upper echelon one. At times last year, he played like a bum. I thought at times last year, though, he also played pretty good. So I would put Mac in terms of like the same category as Daniel Jones. Like, I think he's a smarter player than Daniel Jones. He's like the opposite. Like, Mac is a smart player, but he's physically limited. He can't move that well. His arm isn't that strong, but he's accurate. He's extremely accurate. Most of the times, his mechanics are pretty good and sound. He knows where to go with the ball. He understands offense as well. And there's times where he'll get in a rhythm and he'll play really well. But there's other times where, like, the surroundings really make a huge difference for Mac. If his receivers aren't making plays and his offensive line isn't winning, he's just really going to look terrible because he just doesn't have the ability to make people around him better with his physical traits. So I think Mac is somebody that he looks a lot worse on the Patriots, but like at the same time, if he was put on Detroit, like let's say he was just thrown onto Detroit and you switch with Jared Goff, like I think you could make an argument that Mac would look not as good as Jared Goff, but he would look like a starting quarterback. He would look pretty good because he has enough ability to make most of those plays within a good offense. It's just when he's not in a good offense, he looks really bad. So he's pretty system and player around him oriented. But I think because of the things that he does well, he can be somebody that can function in offense. And he's already shown, I mean, he's been to the playoffs as a starter, as a rookie. So I think a lot of it was circumstantial, coaches around him, offensive coordinator changes, offensive line being terrible, receivers being terrible. I'd like to see him get another chance, but I also realize his faults and realize that he did not play well last year, period. So Mac's going to be a bridge starter. Next, Trevor Lawrence, I think is one of the most overrated players in the NFL. I would put him into like, right now, I think he's between good and manager. I think last year he played like a manager. I think the year before he played quite well. So it kind of depends on what you get. Trevor Lawrence is interesting because obviously physically speaking, he has a lot of talent. But I think there's things missing. I would put him into the manager category right now, and maybe that's being a bit harsh, but I just don't see like a lot of elite traits in Trevor Lawrence. I don't see a lot of great stuff. I feel like he's got a wicked strong arm, and I totally agree. But he's kind of erratic from his accuracy standpoint. He isn't the best at functioning against pressure, and that really showed up last year. He got banged up last year in a big way, and his mechanics can be a bit sloppy at times. His reading of defenses are hit and miss, in my opinion. But there are games where he does make a lot of throws. Like, he can make some really ridiculous throws. Like, deep corner routes, like on-the-move throws on deep crossers, stand in the pocket, take a big hit, throw it, drill it down the middle 25 yards. Like, he can make a lot of good things happen, but he's also a little just, things are missing for me. Like, for the guy that was supposed to be generational, the arm angles aren't there. The ability to escape and make plays on the move is a little underwhelming. The ability to read defense is a little underwhelming. The ability to be accurate all the time is a little underwhelming. And these are all things I said when I evaluated him. But, you know, he's big. He's got a cannon. He can run a bit. And that makes him, without a doubt, a solid quarterback and gives him a good floor. It's just we haven't really seen the ceiling that much in the NFL. We've seen it for a glimpse of time, but not long enough. His situation was bad, says, how do I say your name? Zupi? It wasn't great, but it's not one of the worst situations in the NFL. He had a bad offensive line, and the run game was not good. But, I mean, the receiving core was built for him to succeed. He has a good offensive scheme. He has a good offensive coordinator. And, I mean, I just go back and watch some of Trevor Lawrence's games and just, like, you'll watch the highlight tape of Jacksonville and it'll be like, okay, he threw, like, 15 bubble screens. Like, did he do anything in this game? You know what I mean? And then there's other games where it's like, he was missing receivers, and then there's other games where he's just making throw after throw, laser after laser. So I don't really know. It depends on what week you watch Trevor Lawrence, to be honest. Next, we've got Will Levis. I think Will Levis is a bridge starter. I think he has talent. He's kind of like, to me, he's got a similar skill set to Trevor Lawrence, believe it or not. Like, the guy's got a huge arm. He can run a bit, and he's tough, and he's physical. I like the edge that he plays with. He can just throw lasers, but he is extremely erratic. His accuracy has been really hit and miss, but there's been times throughout his rookie campaign where he showed, like, big splash play potential and franchise quarterback potential. I just need to see more at this point from Will Levis. Obviously, crappy offensive line in Tennessee. The number one thing I like about Will Levis is his vibe. I love the toughness. I love the grit. I love the I like to get hit mentality from Will Levis. I love that about him. But needs to work on mechanics, needs to work on reading the field, needs to work on decision making, all those things. He's a young player with a lot of physical ability. Next, Drew Lock, my guy, the GOAT. I'm just going to put him in elite because he's the GOAT. So there you go. Drew Lock. No, to be serious though, I think Drew Lock is, man, this is tough. I think he's between backup and good backup. I think when he's pulling the dance moves out, he's a good backup. But I think when his dance moves are not being pulled out, then he's just a backup. That win against the Eagles was awesome. I actually thought he played well against San Fran. I thought when he played last year, he actually played pretty well. So he's improving a little bit. I'd probably keep him in the backup category, though. He's got some good traits. He's got decent mobility, a really good arm, and he can make pretty much every throw. It's just he's inconsistent. And he's got the mentality of a backup. But he'd be a great guy to have on your team. Drew Lock is the GOAT, though. Next, Jordan Love. Jordan Love is going to be awesome to talk about here. I'm going to put him in franchise quarterback. I don't even care. You guys can hate all you want. I love Jordan Love. All right? This is what I love about Jordan Love. Jordan Love has a cannon. Jordan Love's got arm angles for days. Jordan Love can sit on his back foot for the entire game and throw as many accurate passes as any quarterback in the NFL off his back foot. Jordan Love has great touch on passes. He's got good mobility. He's getting smarter. I think he's progressing. He's getting there. He's not perfect, but this is a bit of a projection here. Even in his bad games, somewhat near the end of the year. Like, even the Niners playoff game, I was impressed with some of his play. Like, and I didn't think he played that well in that game, but you just see the things that he's able to do at a high level. Like, escape, move to his right, throw the ball sidearm to a guy that's, like, open by a couple feet on a, crossing route. Or the touch ball to the cornerback pylon of the end zone. Right? Like, but you look at his stats, and sure, you could say projection this, but, like, bro, look at his stats. Like, how many touchdowns did he have in comparison to the rest of the league? What did he do at the end of the year? He led the second best offense in the NFL since week 10. So Jordan Love is that dude. And I think he's going to be really, really good next year. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I think he's also really calm under pressure. So I like that about Jordan Love. And he was willing to function within an offense that is an effective scheme, which not all quarterbacks are willing to do, Aaron Rodgers. Patrick Mahomes. Elite, obviously. He's Patrick Mahomes. I don't think I have to say anything else. All I'll say about Patrick Mahomes is, yes, he's a check down merchant. Yes, all his touchdowns are 2 yards out. I get it. We understand. But he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And what I appreciate about Patrick Mahomes is he's been willing to grow. He's been willing to change. He's been willing to evolve. He's been willing to win in a multitude of ways. And that is something that is an elite quarterback. A quarterback that can not only play well in a multitude of ways, but win in a multitude of ways. That's what I'm waiting, Justin Herbert. I'm waiting. All right, next. Who's next up? I don't want to... Marcus Mariota, bro. Let's just put you in backup. Baker Mayfield. I'm going to put Baker Mayfield in manager. That might be a little underwhelming for Bucs fans based on last year, because I think based on last year, he was good. Like, he was good. But I think overall, he's a manager. He's been too inconsistent throughout the course of his career for me to say, oh, this guy's a really good quarterback. Yeah, I know. He ended up winning the accuracy contest in the Pro Bowl. I get it. But Baker has always been accurate. Baker has always had a good arm. Like, Baker, when he's confident, is a good player. Like, yeah, he is. But I think he needs things to go the right way. He needs things around him at a reasonably high level. He needs good protection. He needs play action. He needs good receivers. He needs a hint of a running game, a hint of a defense, right? And I think the things that are underwhelming about Baker, mobility is not good. And he thinks he's faster and quicker and twitchier than he is. And he gets caught a lot. He is really small, which I think gets balls batted over the middle of the field sometimes, causes him some issues. But other than that, arm strength is there, accuracy is there, poise and leadership are there. Now experience is there. What else do I like about it? Toughness is there. Players love playing with Baker Mayfield. He's a great teammate. I like a lot about Baker. Honestly, these four quarterbacks here, if I were to pick one right now for next season that I would want on my team, it would be Baker. The guy with the most potential is Trevor Lawrence. And we'll order these guys at the end. But Baker, you gotta love Baker. Next up. Who's next? Did we miss anybody? All right. Look at what the guy did to Davis Mills. That's so mean, bro. Gardner Minshew, bridge starter. Gardner Minshew played well last year. I like Gardner Minshew. Obviously, he's not physically the most special quarterback in the world. He doesn't got the biggest arm. He's not going to run the fastest 40. He's pretty small. But a lot like Baker Mayfield, he's got a great sense for the game. He's a gamer. I think Gardner Minshew is extremely underrated in terms of intelligence. He's a smart quarterback. He's a really good decision maker. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Oftentimes when he turns it over, it's because of physical limitation and not because of IQ. I think because of the way he dresses, he wears the bandana, he has the jorts on, people think he's like, this is just like a football player, right? It's like, no, he's actually pretty smart. He's pretty cerebral. He's really accurate. He reads defense as well. And I just love the gamer nature to him. And he obviously propped up the Colts last year. I mean, they missed their first round pick last season, and he still won, 9 games? Minshew at the end of the year, they won 9 games with Minshew leading the way and functioning a pretty strong offense. So, yeah, I like Gardner Minshew. I always have. You guys know that. Next up. I don't want to rank Nick Mullins. He's a bum. Who else is a bum? Is there any bums? Where's Zappy? Bum. Bum. Bailey Zappi. Trey Lance. Bum. Who else is a bum? All right. Who's next on the list? Kyler. Call of Duty Kai. We love to see Call of Duty Kai. I'm going to put Kyler in the good category. That might be a little bold, Call of Duty Kai, but I'm going to put him in the good. I think he's frustrating at times because I think there's times where it feels like he's not playing as well as he can, but he's so talented. I mean, you watch Kyler Murray play and he's the road runner, right? He's beep all over the field. He's doing spinoramas, running around in circles, avoiding pressure, throwing dots on the move. He can function within structure. He's obviously a good runner. He's really good at extending plays. I think what I like about Kyler is you can give him a shit team and he can make them competitive. That's what I like about Kyler. And I think that showed up this year. Now, I think where Kyler's limitations lie, or believe it or not, when you actually put him on a good team and you ask him to take him over the top, because he's small. I think at times when people get pressure in his face, I think throwing over the middle of the field, kind of like a young Russell Wilson, it's a bit hit and miss. Asking him to read through coverages consistently, especially in that middle area of the field, containing him in the pocket, making him just be a quarterback that can stand in there and throw at times, gives him problems. But just allowing him to be that functional, fun athlete that Kyler Murray is, he's going to make a shitty team good. That's what Kyler is. All right. Who's next? Aiden O'Connell. I think Aiden O'Connell is a good backup right now. I like his size. I like his arm strength. I think he's pretty accurate overall. But he has maybe the least amount of mobility I've ever seen in an NFL quarterback that's come out in the last 5 years. He can't move at all. He's like a statue. He's like Davis Mills 2.0. But I think that his ability to just get in there and play right away when they asked him to step in was fairly impressive. Like, I was impressed by mostly how he played throughout the season. Now, that being said, he was managed to high heavens. I mean, the game they won against the Chiefs, I don't think he completed a pass in the second half of the game. So, I think he's a guy that for a long time in the NFL will be a backup that you like to have on your team. He's smart. He's a good dude. He's only going to grow in terms of his IQ and understanding of the game and defenses. He's going to be accurate with the ball and know where to go with the ball, but he's just got limitations. All right. Next up, Kenny Pickett the 8th. Kenny Pickett, I would put into, bro, honestly, is Kenny Pickett even like deserving of being a bridge starter? Like, he was putrid last year. Kenny Pickett was poop. I'd put him into the good backup category. Honestly, maybe I am being a little mean here, but Kenny Pickett was garbaggio last season. Like, if you thought Mac Jones was bad, you got to watch Kenny Pickett. I mean, my goodness. Now, that being said, I just think Kenny Pickett is one of those guys that he thinks he's the best athlete on the field, but he isn't. And then he goes out there and he tries to play like he's the best athlete on the field, and he makes too many mistakes. Like he missed. I've never seen a quarterback miss more drag routes in my life by like 5 feet. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Now, there were times where he would rip a slant in there or throw a nice deep arcing fade ball to Pickens. But the Steelers were entirely dependent on run game, their receiver talent winning one-on-ones, and the defense. That's the only way they won. Pickett literally did nothing. And the fact that Mason Rudolph is better than you speaks volumes. All right. Next. Dakota Prescott is a franchise quarterback. I think. I don't know. Last year he was. Okay, so I'll give it to him. But Dak was really, really good last year. And obviously the playoffs, he did not play his best game. But he played really well during the entire NFL season. I thought that the Cowboys had like the second or third best offense in the entire league. And Dak is Dak is good in a lot of areas. Like, Dak is a smart quarterback. I thought he made a ton of plays outside of structure last year. I thought he's really accurate. I think he can really rip the ball into some tight windows that make you say, wow, especially down the seam. It's like, wow, how did you do that, Dak? He's big, powerful, hard to sack. He's quick and decisive with the ball within structure. I thought he was mastering that offense last year. He was really in his bag, like, all season, and I don't want to take that away from him. He was playing MVP ball. You know, he has some good players around him, but it wasn't like it was the Niners offense or, you know, the Cowboys got some good players, but he was also making guys look better than they are. They didn't really have a running game. The defense was inconsistent. I really like how Dak controls a game at the line of scrimmage. I think he's really smart with his checks. I think he's really good at a lot of things. I think, unfortunately, his defense decided to have the worst game of their season and the biggest game of the season. I thought that he made too many mistakes in terms of putting the ball in tough spots. And I think he was just forced to do too much, ultimately. But I still think he's a really good quarterback. It sucks, right? Like, you want more from the Cowboys in terms of winning last year, but I also think it doesn't take away from the great season that he did have. So, next, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I think Brock Purdy is a borderline top 10, top 12 quarterback. I think that he does a lot of things really well. First of all, I love the kid. He's a really good human. And I think he is, like, unflappable. He's really, really just not in his own head. He can make a mistake, and then he can come back and make a play. And I love that about Purdy. And maybe you can't say that about somebody like Dak Prescott. So if you were to take one thing about Purdy over Dak, I think it would be that trait. Like, just the ability in moments, big time crunch moments, like, doesn't matter how I've played up to this point. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to sling it, and I'm going to make plays. Purdy is accurate in most places on the field. He does have moments where he misses throws he should make. I think Purdy is definitely a beneficiary of an incredible scheme, a really, really good offensive coach, a really great set of weapons. But I think the greatest thing you can say about Purdy, he's tough as hell. He's decisive with the football. He knows where to go. He knows how to read coverages, especially zone, and he knows where to go with the ball. He knows how to pick on certain matchups, and he functions within Kyle's offense really well. He's also really good at escaping pressure at times and making plays. Now, where I think he's worse than, let's say, somebody like Dak Prescott, pre-snap, he has a long way to go. He's not very good at deciphering blitzes, how to handle blitzes, who's hot, where to go with the ball. He got caught in the Super Bowl a couple of times with that. I think there's moments where there's people open all the time in this offense, and like one play he'll miss him, and then the next play he'll make the throw, and we'll forget about the play that he missed the throw, right? So his consistency in terms of like where he puts the ball placement is, I think, a little bit inconsistent compared to some of the better quarterbacks in the league. But the offense is so good, the playmakers are so good that they make up for it in a way. I think he's a little small where he gets engulfed by pressure. Like pressure in his face. He seems to not handle that very well. And he often will just like kind of sack himself sometimes. And his ability to handle weather was obviously a huge concern, which makes him not somebody you would want to rely on week to week in all different stadiums and places. I understand he had the best statistics against the blitz last year, but if you actually watch him play against the blitz, it's like, I think the stats lie. If you watch the Super Bowl, I think you understand what I'm saying. Like, it's maybe that it's not that he doesn't handle the blitz well. It's that pre-snap, he handles it better when he has the ball in his hands than before he gets the ball. If that makes sense. Like, he's good at like finding a guy open eventually, but oftentimes that's because of the scheme. I think the scheme gives a lot of answers, and I think that they do a good job of having playmakers win their one-on-ones so that it makes it easy on Purdy. But I think that Purdy also at the same time is not the best at like, okay, this corner's coming, I'm just going to throw it hot here. Like, he needs to get better at that. That's where I'd clarify myself on that point. But I mean, he's a good player. He's a smart player. He's a savvy player. He's not the most talented player, but he's a good player. And he can still grow. And I think he can get to franchise. And I think he can get to elite. But right now, he's good. All right. Next, we've got Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is tough because we barely saw him play. Guys, Gronk spike the like button if you haven't already. Richardson, I got to put him in bridge starter right now just because like we've only seen him play a couple games. But obviously, he's got a lot of talent. He's got a cannon. He's super fast. When he gets going, it's scary. He's big. He's hard to tackle. I think he could be really good in this league because of those physical traits. He needs to work on his mechanics and his accuracy. He needs to get in the lab and work on that stuff. But in terms of physical traits, he's got it all. In terms of flashes in the early moments that we saw him, really impressive. So those are things I like to see. But I can't really comment on him yet. I like his pocket presence. I like the way that he manipulates the pocket. But, we just need to see more. Next, Desmond Ridder. Honestly, like Desmond Ridder to me, I don't even know. Maybe I'd put him in good backup, I guess. I don't know, man. Like, did he even play well? Like, maybe he's more of a backup. Like, I don't even know if he's a good backup. I honestly don't even know. He's inaccurate. He's inconsistent. He's a good athlete. He's not a great athlete. He's got a good arm. He doesn't have a great arm. I'm going to put him in backup. I don't even think he's a good backup. Honestly, I want to move Brissett up. I do kind of want to move Brissett up, but I'm just going to keep him here. Guys, Gronk spike the like button. Aaron Rodgers is next. Aaron Rodgers obviously got hurt last year in the first game of the season, so I can't even I don't even know. But I'm going to put Aaron Rodgers in good for now. I have enough respect for his career and his ability in his career. I think the one thing we know Aaron Rodgers will have, he might not have any more mobility. His toughness might be shot. But man, the guy will be the smartest quarterback in the NFL. So that's something he'll have. He'll also have incredible mechanics and accuracy, and he'll put the ball on the money when he gets time. What I'm worried about with Rodgers is his toughness in the pocket. I'm worried about his mobility. I'm worried about his fragile nature. But otherwise, I think he's still got a strong arm. He's still going to be accurate. He's still going to be extremely smart. So I'll put him in good, although I'm not exactly sure. He could maybe be more of a manager next year. I'm just going to be respectful. Next. Mason Rudolph. Bro, back up. I'll say this about Mason Rudolph. I don't want to tear your heads off with this analysis, but he played a lot better than I ever thought he would. When they announced that Mason Rudolph was going to play, I laughed out loud. So, there's that. Next. Hey, there's Ultras guy. Geno Smith. I'm not even going to rank Trevor Siemian. That guy is atrocious. He's not even worth ranking. Geno, I'm going to put into the manager category. I think he's better than he gets credit for based on last year. I thought he was really good in 2022. I thought he was like borderline top 10 in 2022. I think this past season, he was still top 20 player. I like his vertical throwing ability to get the ball down the field, stretch the field. I think he's got some mobility to him. I think he's a pretty smart player. I love his vibes. I think he's a good leader. I think players love him. And he's accurate. He's really accurate on pretty much all throws. And he needs to get a little bit better in terms of functioning against pressure, manipulating the pocket and pocket movement and pocket presence. He can be a little bit like, sometimes you wonder why he made a certain throw. Like, you're like, it's 3rd down and 4, and he'll throw like a fade ball instead of like throwing the easy like check down. So some of his decision making is a bit hit and miss. But Geno's a good, solid quarterback you can win with, you can go to the playoffs with. He's not special. He's not bad. He's somewhere in between. Matthew Stafford is franchise caliber, still awesome. And in a one-game setting, I think he's capable of playing as well as anyone and going to toe-to-toe with anybody in a big game. Stafford is just still has an amazing arm, can put the ball into windows that are unbelievable, and you'll ask yourself, how the heck did he do that? Obviously, he's got the no-lookers and the arm angles for days. He's grown in terms of his maturity at the position. His leadership has definitely grown. He's seen a lot more defenses. He's able to calibrate within McVay's offense extremely well and know where to go with the ball. He, at times, can definitely be had when he gets interior pressure. He's not the most mobile guy. He's not really able to escape that well. He's a little fragile. He gets hurt a lot, but really accurate, dangerous arm strength, can hit every throw in the book, can make defenses wrong no matter what. Stafford's a franchise quarterback still. Next. Is this Easton Stick, Caesar? Who is this? Is this Easton Stick? I'm going to put him in the bum because he stinks. Next. He's a friggin' hockey stick. Why is he playing football? Jared Stidham. Honestly, he's probably better than Bum. He's probably here. Honestly. CJ Stroud. Bro. Do I do it? I'll put him in franchise, but he's high on the franchise list. I love CJ Stroud. This guy is sick. I don't even know what to say about CJ Stroud. He's sick. Like, I think he could be elite as soon as next year. We just need to see more out of him. He's maybe the most accurate passer in the NFL already. What really impressed me was his ability to extend plays last year, especially in big moments on third down, on crucial money plays and money downs, fourth quarter. Ah, man, CJ Stroud is sick. Like, I don't even know what else to say. He's just unbelievable. He's accurate. He's got a great arm. He can make every throw. He can operate the pocket flawlessly. His pocket movement is exquisite. Franchise, for now. For now. Damn it. Tua! Manager, definition. Tua is, I like some of Tua's game. I think he's accurate, extremely. I think he's really fast at processing defenses and coverages, and I think that's maybe his best trait. He's got a pretty quick release. When he sees it, he can rip it very quickly, and he can put a good amount of mustard on the football, especially in between the numbers. And I thought he got a little bit better in terms of overall, like, toughness last year. Like, I was impressed in terms of his ability to get better at taking hits, making throws when taking hits, playing better in the fourth quarter. But then again, there are times when you watch Miami and you're like, well, Tua lost them that game. Or, well, Tua, you got to play better in that situation. Or, you know, if they had a better quarterback, they might have been able to go toe-to-toe. Or he can't play in the cold. Or he got pressure here and he missed a throw for the game-winning touchdown. Or, you know, like, he can't really escape the pressure. He gets rattled sometimes. Like, I think Tua has grown on me. Don't get me wrong. And there's things to like about Tua. But he's in the perfect situation for Tua. Like, the only thing that could really get better is his interior offensive line. Otherwise, he's got probably the best receiving duo in football. He's got an awesome offensive mind. He's got all of the things that he needs to be successful. RPO, quick game, play action, all that stuff. But he is a little bit limited, which puts him in the manager category. Next, we've got Tyrod Taylor. I'd put into the backup, although, like, he played pretty well last year. I'm not going to lie, but I'd probably put him here. Next, we've got Ryan Tannehill. I'm still going to have enough respect to put Tannehill in good backup category. I still think he's got enough to be a good backup. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's closer to Jimmy Garoppolo, but still got a good arm. Still got enough ability to move, although that's very much deteriorated. He was just playing behind a horrendous offensive line last year, like absolutely horrific. So that definitely hurt him a lot, but I still think he's a good backup. Who else do we got to rank? Mitch Trubisky is a bum. I'm sorry, Mitch. Kyle Trask is the bum of all bums. PJ Walker is a bum. Deshaun Watson is a bum. I'm sorry. Carson Wentz actually looked good in that one game he played, to be honest. I'd probably put him in the backup category. Carson Wentz looked good, man. I don't know. Malik Willis might be the worst quarterback in the NFL. Like, he doesn't even deserve to be ranked. All right? Deshaun Watson, in all seriousness, no. Deshaun Watson, you better do something this year. You better do something this year. And quite frankly, I am not ranking you above bum until you clean up your act and you actually make something happen on the football field, because you have been terrible, sir. Anyone that tells you different is crazy. Wrath of Raider, go watch Wentz versus the Niners in the last week of the year. I'm telling you, bro. Wentz looked good. Maybe I'm crazy. Zach Wilson. This one's tough. I'll put him in backup. I think he's got I think he is the next Geno Smith, in my opinion. It's going to take him a few years, but he's got an awesome arm. He can move. He's got good mobility. And I thought he actually got better last year. Believe it or not, I thought he got better. I know Big Al hates on Zach Wilson. Cobra Kai hates on Zach Wilson. It is what it is. Zach Wilson season, baby. His O-line was ass. Like the definition of ass cheeks. They could not block a soul. The receiving core sucked, okay? And the offensive coordinator sucks, guys. So really, what was Zach working with, all right? But he's got talent. I think he's somebody that you would sign and say, hey, this guy could come in. He's got talent like Sam Darnold, and he'll come in and he'll make some throws. He'll make some plays. Just don't ask him. You know, he actually protected the ball really well last year. Like, ask Ben. He played the Chiefs. He played well. Ben will tell you. Next up, Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson's a bridge starter at this point. I think he still can play a little bit. I think he actually played better off schedule last year than the year previous. He played better with his legs. He played better outside the pocket. He's still got a good arm, but Russ is just like, he feels like kind of like Cam Newton near the end of his career, where it's like, he's such a big name, a big personality, like a guy that people know for something else, you know what I mean? Like, know him for his prime, and he's just not that player anymore, but he still thinks he's that player. You understand what I'm saying? In structure, he's very just mind-numbing. Like, I don't understand what he's looking at half the time. He'll miss wide open receivers. Like, I don't even literally mean miss. I mean, like, he won't, like, the guy will be open and he will, like, it's like he's blind. Like, he won't even see him. So that's Russell Wilson. Jameis is the GOAT. He is the funniest quarterback I've ever seen, but he is a backup. Who else? And Bryce Young. Oh boy. How mean am I in this one, guys? How mean? How mean should I be with Bryce Young? You guys tell me in the chat right now. How mean should I be to Bryce Young? I'm waiting for you guys to answer. Gronk, spike the like button if you haven't already. How mean? Good backup, bum. Caesar says yes. Bridge starter? What do you guys think? Elite. Bro. Bryce was trash last year. That being said, I think Bryce has maybe a better arm than I gave him credit for. But man, everything else, like, wow. Yeah, the situation wasn't good, but he's small as shit. He is the smallest quarterback I have ever seen in my life play NFL football. He looks tiny. He can't run away from people. He's indecisive. He holds on to the ball. Bro, he's a bum. He's a bum. Like, honestly, he's not good. Oh, not good, bro. All right, well, those are my rankings. Let's put them in order a little bit here. So, we're going to go Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow, just because Burrow didn't really play. Then we're going to go, Stroud, Herbert, Stafford, Dak, Love. Dak? That's tough, man. I want to put Love. Let's do it. Let's put Love. Cousins, I think, is first. Purdy after Cousins. Goff, Hurts, Kyler, Rodgers. Baker, Lawrence, Tua, Geno, Carr, Fields. Then we're going to go, oh boy. I guess Richardson, just because I don't know. Then we're going to go Daniel Jones. Then we're going to go Howell. Oh, no. Yeah, Howell, Minshew, Mac, Levis, Russ. I don't know, bro. I guess. Then backup, definitely Brissett first. Then we're going to go... Well, I mean, it depends what Flacco we get. But respect Flacco. Tannehill, Darnold, Dalton, O'Connell, Browning, Pickett. Then we're going to go Jimmy, probably. Well, I mean, the GOAT is Drew Lock. Like, let's be fair. All right. But we'll go Jimmy. We'll go... My goodness, these guys are ass. We'll go... Ritter. Locke. No, actually, Locke's better than Ritter. Who am I kidding? Zach. God, these guys suck. Winston? Winston above Zach. Boy, oh boy. Tyrod. Tyrod's better than Dobbs, I think. Rudolph, I guess. I don't know, bro. I give up. Stidham's better than Mariota, I think. No. Yeah, okay. Bum, who cares? All right. Thank you, guys. That's the list. Trey Lance, worst quarterback in the league, Lenny. All right. Those are my quarterback tiers. Pre-free agency, pre-2024 NFL offseason. If you enjoyed, don't forget to spike the damn like button. Tune in to all my free agency videos, guys. Get those likes up. Get those comments up. Let me know what you thought of my tier list in the comment section below. Share this with your friends. Make your own tier list. Send it to me. Thank you for watching. Peace.